Uh-oh. Let's see. Oh my gosh, y'all. I shouldn't have started the live stream without doing this. Oh, just hang in there. Okay, I'm not in my normal situation. I don't know if I can tighten this. Let's see. Okay, let me just do it like this. Okay, everybody. So, as you can see, I am winging it. Let's see if you can hear me. Let's see if I'm on. Okay, the things that we do. Okay, it looks like I'm live. Okay, everybody. So, as you can see, I hear myself. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for being patient. 1,412 days since Richard was murdered on Fort Bliss. And we still don't have his remains. You know, this is where it was a wowzer day. I mean, every day. You couldn't even believe it. And I'm not lying to you. And, you know, we have the letters and the communications as proof. Every day, something new happening. And today was very powerful because we asserted our rights as the parents of Richard Halliday, deceased soldier on Fort Bliss in July of 2020. Here we are, almost 4 years, right? Almost 4 years, and working every day. It's almost like you're in a forced prison, you know, because you have to put your life aside and you are forced to seek justice, to get answers. And you really, in order to get justice, one thing we figured it out, you have to do it yourself. You can't really depend on other people. You really have to do it yourself. You have to just learn the system and move forward. And control your emotions, which is really hard. Like the other day, the CAO got a side of me that I wasn't controlled. My emotions weren't controlled because what the Army is doing is so rotten so many times. It is just so despicable. It is so inhumane. It is so selfish. And so, you know, you just have to let them know sometimes, you know. And it's not really a personal jab against the CAO, which, you know, maybe we'll see, because there's a lot going on. Don't forget Joshua Lyons, our first CAO, who absolutely mistreated us, and we have all the we have it all recorded, all documented, you know. And this is like the sixth CAO, and yeah, so that we had to deal with that. It's kind of like being in a prison every day. You you know, you have to absolutely are forced to put everything aside and address what is going on for that day, the retaliation, the harassment, the injustice, or in response to all the open records, reading all the open records, the to try to keep up with responding to reports and the violations that you find in the records and the reports. And so, you really need some lawyers, right? You need some lawyers. But we found out very early on that you really can't get lawyers, right? You can't. They're not interested. They're political creatures. They are so political. And with the COVID insanity, the COVID mandate insanity, the farce, and with the Walmart mass shooting, with other issues, with this case, they're just, it was risky, politically, very, very risky. But now things politically are changing. And the whole atmosphere of people are changing. They're realizing that they were misled earlier on. And so the politics, the acts of the people, the thoughts of the people are changing. And so with that, and also I really, we've had a lot of people say, why are you talking about the politics? The politics are everything. In order to get lawyers to help you, to feel free, the politicians to help you, they have to think that it is to their advantage, not a risk. And, for the longest time, because there were so many unknowns in this case, then it was a risk. It was a total risk for them. And you saw that with Ted Cruz, for instance. He really was the one that attempted to help us. He wrote a letter that was just really outstanding. And yet, Christine Wormuth, she just dismissed him. And she's 23, I think 23 ranks lower than him. He is a sitting senator, duly elected sitting senator. She's not, but she had the political power behind her to absolutely just, just to wave him off, to be polite. And so he really couldn't. The politics wouldn't allow him to help us. And we saw that. We didn't take it too personally because we saw it. What was he supposed to do? Now the likes of Lindsey Graham, who didn't even try. But he was one of the very first to send us condolences because he knew that the politics had changed. And, he's really a lousy guy. He's so lousy. He didn't even try to help. And now that, it's probably politically advantageous to help a murdered whistleblower that was exposing child trafficking and weapons trafficking and ammunition. The munitions, y'all, we're so short on munitions right now. The munition trafficking, yeah, it's all been trafficked. It's so valuable. And the narcotics trafficking. So, yeah, now that he thinks it's, things have changed. How has it changed? Well, Trump's huge lead right now. Also, the abuse of power that has been shown in the courts. People do not like that. And neither, the $300 million funds raised by the Trump campaign in, less than a week, and I think it's probably more than that now. Um, this is all politics. It's not about humanity. It's not about protecting our soldiers. It's not about accountability for the murder of a soldier. Everything that you are led to believe that they should stand up and they take their oath to stand up for, but that's not how it is. You're pretty much, if you get in a situation like we have been in, you're pretty much on your own, and you're going to face a lot of retaliation, a lot of real wicked harassment and responses. And so, what you need to do, and what we've tried to do, is stay very calm during the whole thing and document it, document the retaliation, document the harassments, document the threats, document it, because once you have enough, then things change, and supporting your cause becomes advantageous. And with the notice of death for Richard, that was a huge jump in politics, that our case would be advantageous to jump on board and to support us. And with that comes new information and new leads. And of course, we absolutely know that they have our son's remains, right? They have our son's remains, because we were told in October of 2020 they have our son's remains. We were told in December they have our son's remains. We were told after that we have many statements, many witnesses, many, what do you call them? Documented that absolutely evidence that the Army has Richard's remains. And, they're trying to keep it on Fort Bliss, because that would be then a federal laws. But Richard's remains, he was murdered on Fort Bliss, but his remains were taken off of Fort Bliss. And as soon as his remains were taken off of Fort Bliss, everything changed for the murderers, because it's the state of Texas, and the state of Texas doesn't like capital murder cases. They have the death penalty for capital murder cases, for the capital murderers. And so, they're trying to control it, and also to have another dismemberment right after, in the same month that they announced that Vanessa Guillen had been found dismembered, charred, to have another charred, because we're hearing that Richard's remains, partial remains, were charred, that they had to use his dental records for identification, and that they just have partial remains. So it's kind of like Enrique Roman Martinez's case, where his family only received partial remains. We want our son's body. We want his remains. We are the sole ownership of his remains, of his name, from what I understand, being responsible for his estate, for his name, for his remains, for his image. That's what we're responsible for. We've been responsible for that until he joined the military, right? We now are responsible again for that, and to preserve his dignity, to preserve his character. And they have used it, the Army has used it badly, very badly. So because things have changed, because people have realized with this case that the wrongful death claim is coming, And the wrongful death claim is huge because the cover up is huge. And because we have done 4 years of collecting evidence, hard evidence, uh, circumstantial evidence, irregularities. We have collected all of that. We have put it all together, and we have done the work of being a David to a Goliath. We absolutely have put out letters and letters and letters, and I think that the letters to the deans of the law schools was very important in all of this. I'm holding this mic here, so if um, the letters to the deans of the university, the law schools of the universities in the United States, I think that that was very, very important, because now we have a reversal with Paxton in some of the open records requests that we have made, and we have received a slew of records that are very, very important in this case. And so that means that the tide has changed, and that our case has been is now advantageous to belong to instead of risky. So you're going to see more people coming in, and now we are starting to get legal support. We sent out one of the very first major legal documents today, and and we're getting ready to file for the wrongful death claim, which rightfully so. We'd be foolish not to. Everything that we've been through, this was absolutely what the law is meant for. It's meant to help people in our case, and the lawyers know it. And the law was made for a case such as ours, and because this was such a wrongful death, right? This was such a wrongful death, and hopefully, everyone will understand that how can I express myself with that? It's so heartbreaking, and it's so hard to have to report this myself for Team Find Richard Halliday, to say, look, Richard's death was so gruesome, and it was so wrong, and so the law was written for us, for a situation like this. And so we would not be doing our duties. We wouldn't be doing our duty not to be filing a wrongful death claim, because the wrongful death claim will restrain, shine a light on how wrong it is to treat whistleblowers like they did for Richard, and then murder him, and then dismember him, and mistreat his remains, and then cover it up and participate in a cover-up, to protect a gravy train of illegal activities. So, this has huge ramifications, and we wouldn't be doing our duty as citizens of the United States, as parents of Richard, for El Pasoans, if we just would let this slide and didn't want to restrain the evil that has been allowed to grow into this criminal network that does not honor life, and our soldiers, does not honor our soldiers, and is involved in the human trafficking and the narcotics trafficking and the munitions trafficking, along with the weapons trafficking. So I hope everyone understands that, and we are getting multiple legal support now, and we took advantage of it today, and we're very grateful for that. So, and we've made their life very easy, right? We're going to make their life very easy because we we have done so much work. They're coming in on a very well padded foundation of evidence, of evidence, and a slew of paper trails that prove our point on so many, not just paper, but also videos, also screenshots, also email, everything, everything. So, we're getting to the bottom of this, and that's why the time is running very short for those that were coerced into participating with this kind of evil. And we say, be smart, and come forward now. Because I'm not lying. I'm not lying. This is not some kind of maneuver. This is not a trick. This is absolutely the truth that we are moving forward. You see that in 4 years we have moved forward. We no one thought that we could ever get the notice of death. That's a huge admission that Richard was murdered on Fort Bliss. And of course, with the disbursement of the SGLI and the casualty pay and the gift, and I don't think it was a gift, the presentation of the gold stars. People absolutely, are like, wow, I cannot believe you got that, because it's an admission from the Army that Richard was murdered on Fort Bliss. So that we were right all along, And we are hearing that they have Richard's remains. Maybe it's just partial remains. We are hearing partial remains. We're hearing that the remains were charred. We're hearing that they had to use dental records for that. And those are ours, and they need to give them to us. And they need to stop misusing or letting those that are connected to the military, and then we have others too that are misusing Richard's image, that are misusing his name, that are misusing we'll see. I'll stop there. I'll stop there. So it's the identity theft is absolutely part of this, and they have to stop. They cannot be allowed to do this, and we have to make a huge effort for us, as far as we've come, to get accountability. And that's why we're not lying to those that are being brought into this case, because there's a lot of, from what we're hearing, a lot of finger waving, or even some allegations that might be false allegations. Some of them we believe are false allegations, but they're panicking, and they're going to turn on each other if they haven't yet. We're hearing that that's kind of going on. And so that's why we're asking, honestly, this is an honest attempt to reach out to those that were young, coerced, groomed into participating with this criminal network to cover up Richard's murder, maybe even participated in Richard's murder somehow, some way, entrapment or whatever. And we're asking to come forward now. Some people we have heard have made plea deals already. But the bad point about the plea deals that the federal government made or the Army made with you, maybe immunity, it doesn't count for the state of Texas, and the remains were taken off of Fort Bliss, and they're going to uh, they're going to really try to hold that narrative back. You see, they've changed their line, and their line is, he was murdered on Fort Bliss, and that's true. But once his remains were taken off, everything changed, and we have evidence that his remains were taken off of Fort Bliss. And so that would be the death penalty. That's why we are absolutely telling the people that were participating or knew information and just stayed silent because the politics wasn't right, the risk was too high. These are murderers, and so people were fearing for their lives. We'll never forget the time that we were on Fort Bliss, and it was unacceptable that everybody was shaky. They were shaking. It was misery for them. It really was. And we would go back to our place where we were staying, and we would say, oh my gosh, they are being like tortured, spiritually tortured. And I would say Jakovitz was one of them. I would say many others were one of them. And I would say even Brigadier General David Stewart, we saw him absolutely change. And it was just horrible to see. It really was. But he participated in evil. And when you participate in evil, it's like, a spider, like in Spider-Man, what is that called? Where that black spider thingy dilly gets a hold of you and you're like, it's like you turn into some kind of creature. It's really, it's terrible to see. And so we don't want that to happen in our military. We don't want this to happen to other service members. We don't want this to happen to other families. This has been absolutely hell. Absolutely. And so to see the legal help coming in, and I hope they surround us. I hope they come in like angels, hedging around us for the law of God. That's what I hope. I hope that these legal, now that they feel free to fly, because they were also thwarted, right? They were also bound because of the risk and the fear. And so I hope that, with this start of, because we're going to need a big legal group, a legal team. We're going to need a big legal team. And I hope that they come in, the best of the best. We want the best of the best, right? The best of the best. And we want them to come in and just encircle us like a hedge of protection and get that sword of truth, right? And the law, and go after this criminal syndicate, this criminal network that made our soldiers shake in fear, made the legal system be weaponized, abused their power to weaponize the system, to abuse their power to cover up Richard's gruesome murder, abuse their power to cover up holding offices illegally and not being qualified, the abuse of power to stop other agencies from doing their job and handing over remains to Mario Raskin Ortiz, unqualified and illegal, and to take donations from people all over the world. All over the world, people were giving donations, and then the state even gave donations of taxpayers' money to funds, right? To charitable funds. And the major charitable fund that collected those monies, that was supposed to honestly disperse that money, was El Paso Community Foundation. And, they betrayed the people of El Paso. They betrayed the victims. They betrayed everybody that had donated. They betrayed the state of Texas and their monies, because they were being investigated for the fraud of the way they were dispersing the money. And, that's all going to come out. And, as a charitable foundation, to become corrupt and to misuse people's donations and goodwill and love for one another, and use that money to pay to protect a criminal network, to hurt people, to cover up murder, to enrich those that help you enrich yourself. It's kind of like, why did, and the investigation will absolutely reveal this, but why did Veronica Escobar say nothing? Because she absolutely knew, as a judge and as a representative, that remains of soldiers, remains of El Pasoans were being handed over to an illegal, unqualified chief medical examiner that was up to no good, and that the manner and cause of death are all in question now. They're all in question. It's all botched. And why, year after year after year, she allowed that to happen? And she's supposed to be for the people there in El Paso. She's supposed to be for the women, for the children. She's supposed to be for those in Juarez. Look at the murders that are going on in Juarez right now. That is an indication that Veronica Escobar is a total failure. And in my opinion, she's a total criminal for what she's allowed to happen, because she was judge and oversaw that appointment, that illegal appointment. And so, there's so many cases within this case that, and they've all, I think, they all have become advantageous now. I really do. And the reason why is because of the amount of support we have gotten in the last 2 days. Just in the last 2 days, it's been incredible because of what the military was trying to do with our son during this time, to rush to end, to click a box, to create another story to put into the media that is a false story, another false narrative, to rush and do it when, it took us almost 4 years to work very hard to get the notice of death. So to get this kind of support, and I mentioned it yesterday, was just awesome. And I didn't want to reveal exactly what kind of support until today, until we got our first legal document, real legal document, in the mail. So, yeah, this is huge news, and positive news for those that want justice, and it is very bad news for the criminals. Very bad news. And Leilani Hart and Dallas Hart are the prime suspects in the murder, and Tavita Nusa, the CID agent, prime suspects in the murder of Richard. And I haven't forgotten about Jay Pollan. We haven't forgotten about him, and many others. And so, the time is just about run out, because once the team starts putting out the legal documents, I'll say that, you know, the knocks will come. The knocks will come on the door, and we need that. We need that accountability. We need the criminals held accountable for the destruction of our society, of our communities, of our military, the breaches in security, the national security threat in all of this, the politics, it hurt the politics. Politics is not supposed to be so nasty as it is right now. The only reason why it's so nasty is because they're covering up so much crime, and their own crime. And so if we restrain the crime, our politics will get much more friendly. It really will. So, yeah, thank you for your support. Thank you for your well wishes. And, it's all up to you and me, in order to make the life for these lawyers easy. They want an easy ride. I just, for the most part, not all of them, but for the most part, the lawyers want to come in and have an easy ride, okay? They don't want too much risk, and they don't want too much work, right? They just want a lot of money. They just want a lot of money. And not all of them, but most of them. So, it's really good to see that this has become advantageous to them, because at the end of the day, even though we need the best of the best, we do need them. And yeah, so we really appreciate your support, but we have to drive them to do the right thing. And that's where you come in, by sharing, by commenting, by liking, by praying for us. Pray for us and pray for us. And thank you so much. We will be back tomorrow, God willing. And yeah, share and like.